What's up, everybody? How are you guys doing? Welcome to Jake Richardson's Coaching Corner. Today's guest is a friend of mine, Magdy Kamel, the clothing coach. We're going to go over a list of reasons why, as a man or woman, you need a clothing coach, somebody to guide and navigate you through all the fashion woes and get you looking and feeling better, because it's a very important thing to look and feel good on a daily basis. And the easiest way to do that is through how you present yourself and the clothes in which you wear. So I'm very glad and excited to get this man on so he could answer all of your questions and get you looking good. Oh, there he is right there. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much, first and foremost, for even getting on here and doing this. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me and telling me about it, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no worries. Well, we're going to dive right into it. The first question I have for you is, when did the passion for fashion start?
Man, that's a very interesting question. It started before I even knew it was developing, man. You know what I'm saying? From a lineage of fashion. My grandfather was a pioneer Egyptian cotton, which was passed long before I existed. So these were just stories passed down, and I never really realized that the impact it would have on me. And then seeing my father as a young man, as a kid, growing up, seeing him do his own business and always in the suiting world. And, it was something that I always just felt passionate about since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, man, when my father opened this first business, and I was just rushing to get in there with him as much as I can. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow. So was his business in line with what you do now?
Well, what I do now is definitely quite different. You got to adapt with the times. And I think one of the reasons why, my father's business wasn't able to maintain its longevity through the generations was not really keeping up with the changes in the economy, and understanding that you can't just do the same thing forever. But I definitely am focused much more towards a coaching program and a custom clothing line. And we have a tailoring house as well too. So my father sold a ready-wear clothing line, traditional retail store. You come in, we'd fit you up, and did a little bit of alterations on site, but most things were done through other tailor shops that we partnered with and worked with. So we definitely take a much more custom and higher end approach, for lack of a better term, if you would call it that. So.
Yeah. At what stage did you see that gap in the market? So your dad was on this side of it, and you've seen it, and then now you've taken it to the next stage. When did you see that gap? At what age?
It was really working in retail as well. My father's business closed when I was about 17 years old.
Oh, okay.
On my own at about 18, so I started working retail when I was 19 years old. Because of that experience I was blessed with, I became a general manager at like 21 years old. So, I was managing what was a 600K operation and turned it into a multi-million-dollar store. So I had a lot of experience in that retail realm, but I saw early on how the stores were being used more so as warehouses, to encourage people to shop online.
Yeah.
This probably started in 2011, 2012, and then just, growing, shifting into a higher gear year after year, you know what I'm saying, to really push people to shop online. And of course we had, COVID that just put that on steroids and really amplified that whole situation, so I'm glad I saw that when I did. And I would say it was probably in about 2016 where I decided to launch the clothing coach and to really start my own line, because I saw that the trend was really going away from stores, and the traditional retail model, even malls themselves, have been, losing traction for decades. It's become more obvious in recent years, but my father's business was in a mall, and I saw even during that business's lifetime where the trajectory was downward towards the traffic and the reliability a mall used to provide, where you didn't have to even worry as much about your marketing and advertising because that was the point of being in a mall. So for a long time, that malls were shrinking in popularity since I was a kid. So for decades now, it's really been on a downward trend, and now they're just going up and extinct. So working in that environment and then being in a traditional, nationwide big box retailer, and just seeing the emphasis that they were putting on online sales, I just knew that I had to do something different if I wanted to have longevity in the business.
Well, and for somebody that has been in so many different facets of the business, you've probably seen that in a mall, they don't gear towards men. It's heavily a woman's game in the mall. I don't see a lot of male clothing stores, or you go ahead, elaborate on that. Let's see if I'm wrong or not.
Well, in retail in general, even with clothes, that's why, for all the polyester investors in the world, right, started with women's clothing, because over of women's clothing is made with polyester and synthetic fabric. So old fast fashion, everything has always been geared towards women because, just the numbers show that women tend to shop more, more time in stores and spend more money primarily on units, and as the industry in general, there used to be a certain level of sophistication in everything that we did, but especially when it came to getting dressed and clothes shopping. And as that kind of went away from the years and the measurables of quality really changed, so everything as it goes more towards, speed and getting it fast, everything becomes like fast food basically over time, which is more profitable for most businesses, I think. Having, an assembly line, simpler strategy that can be scaled quicker than, quality or expertise. So definitely in general, malls used to command a lot of power too, because they generated a certain amount of traffic. They used to insist on stores, committing to a certain number of hours. And as they've lost power with all of that, you definitely, if you go to a mall now, there's all types of stores that have different hours and short-term leases. They just don't command the same power that they've had. But definitely a lot of stores that were anchored by the large department stores, geared towards women primarily, and never had as large of a shopping section for men as they did for women. But again, you saw a lot of the changes where, most malls that remain now are anchored by restaurants and, more experience-driven anchor stores than traditional retail.
Yeah. And the cool part is where there's tragedy in one section, there's beauty in another, which brings me to my next question is, what is a clothing coach?
So a clothing coach is really about the transfer of knowledge and raising the levels of sophistication and presentation. And the reason that is different than, say, a traditional stylist or personal shopper or a custom clothier is it encompasses all that in one, while transferring that knowledge to the client. Stylists a lot of times, there's a market for that as well too. There's people who couldn't care less about having the knowledge. They just want an outfit ready for them. And of course, there's a cost associated with every service in life. So the clothing coach is really meant to really learn people how to invest in themselves and how to invest in their presentation. There's a whole nonverbal language that comes with personal presentation, as we all know, is simply put as, first impressions, job interviews, dating, meeting your in-laws. Both in personal and professional realms, we understand that your presentation can speak for you. So it's about teaching folks, gentlemen in particular, how to leverage that as a tool to help you better demonstrate your personality and reach your goals, just by understanding very, very simple metrics all around ease with shopping, where to shop, how to get dressed, and really just simplifying that for the end user.
Man, and you realize it because you're the clothing coach, but it is so important to have somebody that can guide you through this, because you probably have seen what were the major things. I'll let you say it. I don't want to speak too much. What are the major things that you see when somebody comes to you, and then what were their major gaps? What are the most common major gaps when somebody's coming to you?
Well, it could come from frustration. A lot of times when people just say, I'm tired of, not knowing what I need and just having endless options. I mean, before I used to walk into a department store and you get lost with all the options of shirts. Now you don't even know what website to start in. I mean, shopping online could be easier in a sense, but it's not in many other senses as well too. You don't even get to try on the clothes. You can't feel them. If you don't really know a little bit about fabric or understanding your measurements and how they translate to the fit, it's very difficult to know how to shop. You're not going to be one size across all brands, especially the way that clothing is being marketed today. And shopping for jeans is completely different than shopping for suiting. So it tends to come out of frustration, whether it's that or something as simple as, a common phrase I've heard a lot is, I'm tired of not being taken seriously. I'm tired of being overlooked. And it's a lot of people that have a lot of substance. They work hard on achieving a certain level of knowledge or expertise. And really all I do is just show them how to be that cherry on top, how to just create more opportunities and keep it simple. It's the low-hanging fruit, really, understanding how to dress. Why there's people who that's all they do, right? Where they're all looks, all talk, no show, or they can't close. You know what I mean? That's a big key. It's just teaching people how to not only have the substance, but how to easily demonstrate that and create easier opportunities for yourself.
They use sales. It's funny because like me as a trainer, you almost sound like the personal trainer of fitness. Like like you're showing them that they have the capabilities and guiding them through how to attain them, and then watching them flourish in the world. And it's like, this is the same exact thing in my personal training career, the same exact thing that you're doing.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised, man, if there's some correlation there, because I know you're an expert at what you do, and when you have a certain level of expertise on the subject, you tend to have a lot of love and passion for it.
Oh, for sure.
And, generating the dollars that are associated with it, you really want to transfer that knowledge. And one of the main differences, like you asked earlier, what makes a clothing coach different is I'm not in it to have lifelong clients. It's one thing where, certain clients are going to reach out, and I'm happy to have them come back. And of course, if they want to work some more, I'm happy to do it. But the goal is to get them to a level of sophistication where they know how to decipher things much better. Just probably like in fitness, where you can teach folks how to stay away from certain ingredients or how to eat during this time of day, or just you could kind of give them a blueprint that if they're serious about it, they could take that blueprint and execute it on their own.
Oh, yeah, you hit a home run with that. I tell people all the time, and you probably know this in your line of work. In my line of work, there's two types of trainers. There's God trainers and there's parent trainers. Mm-hmm. God trainers wants you to worship them, never leave, and what they say is that's it.
Yeah.
And because they want your money. At the end of the day, they don't really care about your health. I mean, they want you to be in shape, but they want your dough at the end of the day. Then you have parent trainers where they want you to come in, they want to educate you, they want to get you in the best position possible, and then get you out into the real world where you don't need them anymore. So for you to say that right off the bat and go, hey, I don't want you to be my lifetime client, because if you're my lifetime client, then I'm doing something incorrectly, because I need to build your confidence up at the same time. So that right there is a huge positive, huge gem. And I'm very glad that you said that.
Yeah, man, definitely. I mean, I'm a big believer in that. I mean, of course, the custom clothing line, I'd love for, folks to come use that and utilize that for the rest of their lives. I mean, a big part of why, many clothiers will even offer tuxedo rentals is more so to touch people at milestone events in their lives, whether that's prom or a wedding or something where they're going to stick out, so you can always be a lifelong client of theirs. So I could respect that from the business end and happy to offer a product where if it's in need, folks could keep coming back. But as far as the coaching and the transfer of knowledge, I'm a big believer in really just showing them a certain level of education, and they could take that and run with it and take in the direction that they need, because it's a very personal thing too. It becomes a custom program. Everybody's life goals are different. You know what I mean?
Well, and then that connection as well, that personal connection they have with you, probably transfers over, and it's not just clothing based. They're probably coming to you for advice on life, advice in relationships. All so it's like you almost become a therapist amongst the clothing aspect of it because you create this connection, this relationship.
Yeah, I think so. In a certain essence for me, I like to understand and focus my expertise on what it is that I'm doing, because one of my business coaches and mentors once told me that, coaching is only really done from two ways. And some coaches believe that coaching comes from the inside out, and other coaches believe that coaching can be done from the outside in. And for me, as a clothing coach, I really need folks that need that coaching outside in. They recognize and they've done a lot of the inner work at times, because there's moments like if somebody ever tells me, I don't know why my look should matter. I wish it didn't matter. And that's a very valid point. And that's a conversation we could have. But 9 times out of 10, really 10 times out of 10, that's somebody that's already identifying that they're not ready for coaching from the outside in. They really got to work on it from the inside out, which is important, and we all got to do it. I mean, there's times. I mean, there's hypnotherapists that I've partnered closely with, and have referred many clients to, because a lot of these things can be subconscious as well too, and require a lot of work that I particularly don't focus on. But all these things could trickle in to affecting why your presentation isn't where it needs to be, or why that's something you've always had difficulty with. Sharing fitness as well too. You're familiar with mental blocks and not being able to be in a flow state to really get yourself positioned for success. And that's why I try to focus my coaching program on what will allow me to help them the best, and will allow what I do to shine the best, is folks that need less coaching from the inside out and are really ready for outside in.
Yeah. Oh, and I like that you said that you work with other people, because you could all help each other out. You know what I'm saying? Like when it comes to building a human being, it's a tribe that builds a human being as much as it is a tribe that builds a child. And it's good to have multiple people in different avenues that can all complement each other. So it's good to hear that you have hypnotherapists and all these other people that help complement and then build the person up, and then they're ready to come to you. So it's almost like a stepping stone to get to you.
Definitely. And of course I partner, with barbers, with nail techniques.
Exactly.
There are folks that are in, the presentation realm. But as I continue, to work and take my craft seriously, I realize that it can often take a lot more than that. As I work for myself as well too. I mean, it's never, any real expert understands, the teacher dies learning. There's got to learn something new myself, and humble myself to be able to continue to share what I do know, and help out whoever's ready to receive it.
Yeah, I love it. So let me get the story from beginning to now, and you can fill it in between, of when the clothing coach idea became reality. Like, how'd that come about?
Well, as I was growing, as I mentioned, I've been, a lifelong clothier from the, then going right into retail straight out of high school. And a lot of that was just life circumstance. But as kind of continued onto this path and found success in the retail world, or what certainly felt like it at the time, I'll never forget there was a client that I had who had some severe health issues, and it caused a lot of disfigurement, where his neck was basically equivalent to somebody who was a small.
Technical difficulties to begin with. Let me see if I can get him back on. But what Magdy is doing is amazing, and it's not easy by any means. Getting people to feel confident from the inside out is a very hard thing to do. And presentation and clothing is humongous. So I commend what he's doing, and I think it's a beautiful thing. And I hope that when we continue this conversation, you guys could dive even harder into it. Because you have to think, what what people dress the best, what people tend to look good. It's people with elevated jobs. And at the end of the day, you want that as well. No matter what your job is, you want to be able to present yourself the right way. You want to feel as if you're doing the right things. And I do very much so think it comes from the clothing that's on you and how you could act after that. So yeah, this is so far an extremely great interview. Oh, there we go, back at it. Don't worry, I'm good at being able to, when it freezes up, I can start talking and get it going, and then jump right back into it.
Cool.
But then you were saying, so the guy had disfigurements, his neck.
Yeah. It was a much smaller. Neck was probably more equivalent to a smaller medium. Waistline equivalent to a 3 or 4X. Legs a different size. Just everything was quite challenging and not easy to figure out. With definitely needed the touch of a tailor. And a bigger challenge was also he didn't have the budget or time to be able to create a custom product. But I remember, he came in with his wife, and came in very begrudgingly, and his wife pulled me aside and told me that their daughter's wedding's coming up, and he's about to miss that. He hasn't been out in a couple of years now because ever since he's had these issues and the medication he's taken, so on and so forth, and he was just down in the dumps basically about his presentation. And once, I spent some time with him and created a custom made look for him, using ready-wear products, working with one of my great, exceptional tailors, who really deserves most of the credit. But I was able to create a really handsome look for him. He was able to make the wedding, and and I'm sure looked fantastic. But a couple months down the road later, that same young lady came in, and she told me that ever since he came in, not only did he go to the wedding and receive several compliments, but we've been out to dinner several times, and I can't tell you how much this outfit has, really changed not his life but our lives. And I just wanted to thank you so much. And she really didn't come in to buy anything. She just wanted to, shake my hand, and was just profusely thanking me, for impacting him in the way that that she felt that I did. And so that really got me thinking that same day, because especially working in a retail environment and seeing the devaluing of expertise and associates for most publicly traded companies. I mean, it is what it is. Payroll is a controllable expense, and it's better to pay folks that step into an assembly line than trying to pay for expertise. That's reserved for the medical field and attorneys. Apparently, they don't want to. There's no more value in other industries to be able to hire in that way anymore. So I just realized in that moment, truly, and I was just talking to a friend of mine who was talking about becoming a life coach. And, a life coach is something that I'm not going to say I don't believe in, but I think it's very challenging to really become a life coach. But I do believe in niche expert coaches, and that's really when I even developed the name. That, man, I'm not just another retail person. I'm not just another manager. I'm not just another salesperson. Man, I'm the clothing coach. I'm changing people's lives with this, man. It's not just the buttons and the threads. People are changing their life sometimes based on presentation. And when you think about the impact social media's had, marketing has had, attention spans just keep shrinking. The amount of companies that are vying for our attention constantly, I mean, it's unbelievable. So clearly presentation matters, from a product but also to a person. So just kind of seeing the writing on the wall with the trend in retail, and just seeing the impact I was having on people. I mean, besides that, there was clients driving from other parts of the state. There was a woman. I'll refrain from saying people's names, but a client that rerouted her flight. She would come in from Australia for her work, basically, but she was chopped for her husband. And long story short, once she ended up, she was always transferring out of Portland, ended up going to San Francisco, ran into me, and ever since then, she literally would modify her travel plans just to be able to come and work with me. So when I had those experiences, and a lot of those folks that believed in me, you know what I'm saying, it definitely aided and helped me believe in myself more and realize that there is a business opportunity here, not just to make money, but like I said, to increase longevity to what I do.
Well, you did the thing that a lot of people either don't know how to do or are afraid to do is you have a natural skill and talent that you're extremely good at that you also enjoy and people saw it and instead of you going, oh no, I don't want to do that, you listen to it and go, oh no, you're absolutely right because I've been thinking the same thing. I'm going to go in this direction. It is a small percentage of people that do that. I have conversations with people all day and I'll see this thing in them and go, man, you should do that. And they know they should do it, and they still will fight against it and never do it. And then you'll talk to them 5 years from now, man, did you ever do that thing? Oh no, I wish I did. So for you to seize the moment and actually listen to the people around you, go, no, you have amazing skill in this, and you should further it, is amazing as well. Like I said, it's a super small percentage of people that do what you did.
Well, yeah, I mean, everything is not a condition for that.
Yeah.
It's very challenging to remain ambitious, to believe in yourself, all these things. And it's funny because, you see most of these things in Disney cartoons and all the stuff that, we grew up with as kids. A lot of it is talking about believing in yourself and, you could do anything type of mentality. But as we grow older and, compare ourselves to other people and understand the financial obstacles. And that's really why, understanding a financial plan around your passion as well, too, is really important because a lot of times that's why most businesses fail, most marriages fail, but most ambition in general gets killed because of the challenges that there is to just create financial independence, let alone abundance. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't see a way on doing that, and and it gets me as well too. Sometimes you wonder, could I have just stayed, working this job that, it's not my dream, but it's I know when my paycheck's coming, I know when I can plan my vacation or plan to do this and that, but so I can understand it, and things are set up in that way, but I try my best to hopefully lead by example to show people that there is a way to monetize your talents and abilities, but you really got to believe in yourself and remain ambitious despite the environment, because most people's environments are just not conducive to success.
Oh, for sure. I mean, well, it's the main reason why I got you on the show is because I'm extremely impressed with what you're doing right now, and I think that you've battled a lot of odds and gotten yourself to this position based on just you. You know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't no silver spoon or anything. It's no, you busted your ass to get here. And the people that are on this show are people that have busted their ass to get in the position that you're in. So just from somebody on the outside looking in, you're doing exactly what you should be doing. And I know for myself, I've always told people this. $1 on my own feels way better than $5 given by somebody else.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you saying that, and I would agree with that. And at the same time, there's a certain upside too. Like you might be just making $1 on your own now, but you could potentially push that to 20,
Exactly.
30, 50, 100, versus that $5 remains $5, and if you're lucky, you might get to 5.50 or 6. But
and that's as really inflation rises. So it's like that 550 is just based on inflation.
Yeah. I believe it's on average increases by 3% a year, probably much more, obviously, in recent times here. But if it, the average has been an increase of 3%, and you're not getting at least a 3% raise, you're literally losing money.
Exactly.
And that's some of the financial wisdom that society and companies are designed to make us oblivious towards. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how they get the best hours of the day out of you, right? You wake up, early from 9 to 5. I mean, it's literally your most productive hours. And a lot of times too, they're not even incentivized to get you to a level that's going to create real financial independence. Because when you have financial independence, it removes the dependence on the job. So it's just not really designed for that.
Oh no, completely. That's why they give you 401ks. That's why they give you insurance. That's why they give you all these things because they need you. They need to get their talons in you to lock
Yeah,
you down. Which, to the point you're making, for some people are 9 to 5ers.
yeah,
At
yeah,
the end of the day, we've met them all day, every day. Some people need that 9 to 5 grind, and that's absolutely okay. You can still make enough money to buy property and maybe get into property and start getting tenants and making your money that way. It's never been too fun for me or too exciting. I like the ability to create, and to the point that you're making, I like the ability to get $1, but tell myself that ceiling doesn't have to be $5. It can be $20. It can be $100. And just to have that ability to create is huge.
yeah, man, definitely, definitely. But it's all, we're going through a big reset right now too. With the AI and the way all this, the computers and bots and the way everything is moving towards, and it's just really, how should I say? It's obviously been becoming much more challenging to have a 9 to 5 that does create the financial stability, even in the long term. I mean, used to, in our parents' generation, even you used to be able to, work at a postal office or Nordstrom or and have a pension, a career, and all that. I mean, there was a time where even these 401ks, were looked down upon, right? Because they used to have that's what really replaced the pension. You know what I mean? And if you just look at it over time, everything is really designed to keep people at a certain level overall.
Yeah.
So that's why I just like to as much. I mean, you're right. There's going to be people that are wired differently, that are not wired, and don't want certain responsibilities, which there's nothing wrong with. I mean, my dad used to always say, "There's only leaders, followers, and losers." You know what I'm saying? It's true, man.
Hey, that is an amazing, simple quote right there. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, man. It's the truth, and the leaders have to know when to follow as well too.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with being a follower, just as long as you're contributing something. It's that third one that you really want to stay away from, for sure.
Oh yeah. There's no room for losers by any means.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it would be safe to say the gentlemanly IQ in overall men is lacking.
Definitely, yeah. It's especially being in the San Francisco Bay Area. When people first hear about custom suiting or the clothing coach, they tell me you should be in New York or London, at least LA. You should, San Francisco is not the place for you. And I completely beg to differ, man. This is where they need me the most. And
Exactly.
a lot of times, it's just important to understand that even the whole dressing down or casually was also meant to communicate something. And that's what I do with the coaching program isn't specifically about getting you in a suit and tie. It's about creating a look that communicates both your personality and goals and what you're trying to accomplish. Because, when everybody was dressing down in the tech world, it was really just about communicating to companies that it's a new sheriff in town. You can't conduct business without us, and I'll do it in my underwear if I want to.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay me to do this because you can't function without me. And that was another early indication to show that the world is going to be heavily reliant on technology. It was actually the fact that you don't have to conform or dress up or do anything in particular. One of my main examples that I always use that was a master at crafting their personal brand image. When I've done any seminars or presentations about this, I always ask folks to guess if you think it's a movie star, an athlete, and oftentimes nobody can really bring it to mind, but it's Steve Jobs, man, 110%. Because Steve Jobs was not really known as a fashion icon, of course, but was a master at personal branding. Because even as I said that name right now, you or anybody else thought of him, with his arms crossed in that black turtleneck. It was a part of his image. It's a big myth when people say that, these folks dress the same or dress down because of decision fatigue. These folks are too bright to have decision fatigue. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What it's really about is developing a strong personal brand and one that also matches their goals and personality, like I said, right? So, like millionaires love to flaunt their wealth. They love to wear chains and gold and flaunt their wealth, but billionaires don't. They don't want to remind you that they have a lot of money. So that's another, signs to the fact of why a lot of those folks dress down. And then you have, let's say, Mark Zuckerberg, who's always in a hoodie, but a lot of people don't know that that's a custom-made hoodie, with the blueprint of Facebook's mission statement that's sewed into the inside of it. You know what I mean? So it's there is thought that goes into the presentation, really on any level, and that's why it's really important to be here in the SF Bay Area to raise the gentlemanly IQ. And it's not about just getting you in a suit and tie, but it's about you becoming presentable and communicating better.
Yeah, it seems as if you're trying to build their overall confidence so they understand who they are. You're like the individual person and not what, like you said, getting in that conveyor belt and just going, yeah, this guy looks like this guy looks like this. It's like, no, find your specific passion or find your look and we'll create off of that.
Yeah, definitely. And just understanding that, your grooming and attention to detail can be easily communicated, and it makes it easier for people to get to know the substance about you.
Yeah.
I had a client recently that was, not the best groomed in a lot of ways. And, we talk about, hair on the back of the neck, man. He's like, man, I don't want to have to cut my hair in a certain way to, allow when he meets somebody or he's out there dating, I wanted her to just love me for me. And, it's just important. My response was really just, why not make her job easier?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, why does she got to see through 5 inches of neck hair, or dirty nails or whatever, to be able to have the patience to, find out the real you?
Yeah.
Just go ahead and make it easy on everybody, and groom yourself in the best way. Make yourself dressed in a way that's most flattering to you, but that's also in a way that'll make you more comfortable and exude that confidence. You know what I mean? Because it's actually, you would think that it's more about other people, and it can be, right? When you dress well to a wedding, for example, because these folks spend a lot of money on this event, so you want to show respect by coming in your best as well too, so you could help make it a memorable occasion for them. But that's really a secondary feature. Man, perspective is a weapon. It's all about honing that tool and skill to give yourself the confidence to, one, not even care what people think, and to want to choose to be respectful. Getting dressed for a wedding is not just about making them happy. It's about representing yourself, representing who you are. I know for me, whatever it is that people think I represent, whether that's a race or a religion or a city, I want to do my best to represent well for myself and community. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's beautifully said and very simple in how you say it, where it's, clean yourself up enough to where you represent what you believe in the best you can possibly do it. It doesn't have to be the best that anybody's ever done it. It's just the best that you could possibly do it, and that means all the difference in the world. So,
and it's understanding and being serious about your goals too, right? Because a facial tattoo or crazy hair might be beneficial if you're trying to accomplish certain goals, but you have to understand and assess, is it part of a larger vision and plan?
Oh yeah.
And so that's the thing, is where a lot of people conform to a certain look, and that could be negative things too. It doesn't have to be positive. You don't have to be trying to conform to be businessmen. People try to conform to be street cats at the same time too. You know what I mean? And it's fine if it matches your goals. You know what I mean? If you're dressed in a way where you're trying to be an entertainment, or you want to, whatever it is that you want to do, your look's gonna often or should match that.
Yeah, they just clean it up around the sides, and I think you'll be just fine no matter what. But with that overall IQ, because I'm here, you're diving right into it, like the overall IQ lacking, what would be the 3 no-nos that you commonly see when people either walk through your door or when you're just walking around that men can have? Like, what are the top 3 overall no-nos?
Well, one of the main things is grooming. Grooming is very important, and that extends to your hands, facial hair, haircut. Of course, all that's got to be. You could be wearing the nicest suit in the world, and if you don't have a flattering cut, then it's just not going to work well for you. Two is just understanding some of the very main basics about dressing, especially if we're talking about professional attire. I most often see what's called the Joker tag. You know, when folks have the label on the left sleeve,
Yeah.
most commonly. That's and I see it in young ladies too, especially this time of year with trench coats and top coats. A lot of people leave the Calvin Klein right there. That's the main thing that it shows your level of sophistication right away on how well you're dressed. So that's something that I most commonly see too that I'd love to warn men about. And the third one I'd probably say is shoes, footwear is very, very important. You know, and wearing flattering and quality footwear, and however it is that you're styled, and it definitely goes beyond sneakers as well too.
Man.
But even if that's your look, you know, I mean, women. Yes, any woman. That's probably the first thing she looks at. And second thing is you know, your hair. So those are probably the top two things that you want to make sure that you understand, and they're gonna matter much more in terms of your level of fitness, right? The more fit you are, the less these things matter. But the less fit you are, the more these things matter.
That's the realest shit on the fucking planet. I feel as a man, it's a pendulum swing. I feel that if you're a man that's in shape, like I feel that if you're a man, there's these categories in which you can find women in. And I feel that it's men that are in shape, men that are funny, men that dress well, men that got money, and sensitive men. If you can kind of fit in one of those categories, you'll be good. But if you lean heavier to one side, like you said, being fit, you could have a loincloth on and you'll pull something.
Oh yeah. Like I get, you know, dudes all the time that, you know, show me some neck T-shirt that, you know, they saw Draymond Green was wearing, or you know, but it's some athlete, you know what I mean. And I got to remind them that, you know, that's only translating that well because, man, this dude's a beast, man. Look at his body. You know?
Exactly.
So yeah, that shirt's gonna look flattering on him, but it's not gonna translate the same way on you. So let's you know, dial it back and figure out what's most flattering for you. You know what I mean? And I used to get a lot of that, even back to working in retail, where people, you know, see somebody in a movie or in a show, and I want to be dressed like that. But which can be good to help, you know, brainstorm and get you the right idea for your own style development. But at the same time, you have to understand how well you know, translate to that. You know what I mean? You want to mimic George Clooney, but you know, if you look more like a Ninja Turtle, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta dial it back. But even Donatello can be smooth, man. You gotta do it in the right way. You
know. How is their reception when they get? Because I think blunt is great. Because same thing in my line of work, people will send you J-Lo's ass and go, I want to have that, and it goes, okay, well, there's genetics, A, but then B, what are you doing to get there? And if you're not doing what J-Lo's doing, probably ain't gonna translate the same exact way. So how is the reception when you do give them that dose of reality?
That's a really important question, because with any type of coaching or training, I think it's important to understand if your client is, again, being coached from the inside out, or are they ready for coaching from the outside in? Because if you're ready from the outside in, you can handle those blunt comments, you know what I mean, and they're helpful. But if you are still, you know, struggling with some more inside emotional issues, right, subconscious issues, which most of us are, and we never completely get rid of them. So I don't mean to say like I'm out of that realm, you know what I mean? But at the same time, there's some of us have worked more to grow in certain areas than others, and so you can usually identify that honestly from as simple as asking somebody how you doing, right? When somebody's how you doing, and immediately they're, oh man, you know what I mean? Versus the person who says great. Not that we feel great all the time, but even in those limited interactions, you can typically tell when somebody leans more towards positivity or someone that's engulfed more in negativity. You know what I'm saying? So that already is kind of a qualifier on how I'm going to assess the situation. But, you know, in general, and that's why most of my business tends to be word of mouth, and I really only take clients for the most part as they seek me, because I can't really seek out somebody who's ready for that. Most people who are ready for it, they'll find us. They'll find a trainer like you, or they'll find somebody like myself who's just ready to give you the results that'll deliver. Anytime it's been somebody that I know through somebody where the wife or girlfriend has forced them to come in, or just they're just coming in for the wrong reasons. It's just not going to be effective. You know what I mean? And not only am I wasting their time and mine, but I'm also watering down even my brand, because a lot of the knowledge that I'm going to share here and transfer is not going to work. It look like my program doesn't work, when really the mindset of the client is just as important as the material that I'm sharing.
Oh, that's an ultra gem right there. I mean, and me and you have been in our careers as long as we have, based on when somebody comes in and they say they want J-Lo's ass or they want Brad Pitt's abs, and then you hit them with the reality of, here's what you need to do, and are you okay with doing that? Okay, you're not okay with doing that? Well, then here's what we can get you. When they understand that and are willing to believe in our expertise and roll with it, they could stay. But they still want J-Lo's ass but aren't down to do the work. I go, well, I got other trainers I can introduce you to, but I can't work with you, because you said it right there. Your brand is way more important. And I always feel that there's always an audience for your authenticity. So for who you are, there'll always be an audience that finds you, and we don't fit for everybody.
Definitely. And yeah. For
sure.
Go
ahead. Keep going.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, absolutely. And that's one of the main ways to protect your brand, too, and make sure that you always have a highly reviewed quality of the service that you provide. You know what I mean? Because the only times where my clients weren't in love with what I do, they were honestly clients that I probably should have turned down in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And that's just because you have to be ready to take on certain things. I mean, I even myself, with some of my own fitness goals that I haven't been able to reach, and I know part of it is I'm just not ready to let go of certain foods.
Exactly.
And certain times a day that I eat, and that's just not gonna. There's no way around it. You know what I'm saying? So either I get serious about that, and I work through the mental blocks to do that work to reach my fitness goals, or I'm just not gonna reach them.
Yeah. And like you say, you have to be a realist with yourself in that sense. So then my next question works like this is, how does when somebody increases their gentlemanly IQ, how does that translate in their career? What have you seen when it comes to them increasing their gentlemanly IQ and then their career after that?
They make a lot more money, and their dating life tends to improve significantly. And I'm certainly not a relationship coach or any of that sort at all. My point is to simply help a gentleman develop a look that really communicates their basic personality traits easily, and helps them reach their goals, right? Whatever that may be. Because a lot of that is mind and mental as well, too. You know what I mean? And this is how, for example, really short, average-looking dudes can have a supermodel for a wife, because at the end of the day, mindset and mentality is the number one thing with anything that you're trying to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to do really with presentation is to help hone those skills and make it easier on the subconscious mind and the conscious mind as well, too, to help make these goals more attainable and more easily communicated to other people. So I've had clients directly, as soon as they started dressing differently at work, now they're catching the eye of certain people who are in positions of power that they needed to know, but they didn't really know before. But now that they dress well, they're getting more invitations. And that trickles down to personal matters as well, too. I mean, I get invited to so many events just because they know that I'm going to come looking sharp, and that's going to make them look good. Like, oh, they have a high quality of attendees. You know what I'm saying? So just that simple, where even if people's intentions aren't that pure and nice and whatever, if you represent yourself in the right way, maintain your purity of your intentions, you know what I'm saying? And that is how you're going to create more opportunities for yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is through, I got to practice what I preach. And a lot of clients that I get are from going to these events, especially pre-COVID. I used to do a lot of just sitting around in certain coffee shops and establishments and just waiting for people to approach me and start asking me questions, because in all honesty, if you represent yourself well, it works like a magnet. You just start attracting more opportunities toward yourself. And this is why, again, it's so important to have done some of that inner work as well, too, because you're going to miss all those opportunities or then misrepresent yourself if you are getting into certain rooms and don't know how to carry yourself or how to expand on that further. Because I'm sure it's no different than anybody who's been on a date with somebody who's very attractive, and in the moment they start talking, they're not feeling as attracted towards that person anymore.
Yeah.
Because there's always more to it than just the look.
Well, and that's the expansion of the clothing coach within itself, right? I mean, you're teaching people their specific look, how to hone it in, but also how to allow it to bring out the best of them and not just be some dud that looks good. It's like there's more to the brand than just the clothing aspect of it, which is amazing. And to the point that you were making, when it comes to that, is a powerful investment when you could go, oh no, there's a proven track record here where if you dress better and you present yourself better, money flows at the same time. So that's a beautiful model that you have right there. It's always good.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's definitely proven.
Yeah. So then we're that's all the good stuff. But now here's one question I do have is, what's a polyester Sylvester?
Yeah, man. A polyester Sylvester, man, is a fake Sylvester Stallone, man. So the polyester, what a lot of people don't realize is, most of these synthetic fabrics, they're petroleum based, right? So not only are they petroleum based, but they go through a 12 to 17 stage process that is introducing a heavy dose of chemicals throughout that. And the less expensive or more fast fashion a product is, the more cost effective it is. And that typically means it's no different than food, right? When the cheaper you buy a McDonald's burger, less, than a steakhouse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all about quality, and you get what you pay for. And especially in a world, right, where everybody's constantly concerned with climate change and global warming and vehicle emissions and all the stuff that folks are really consumed by, yet one of the number one emitters of all these toxicities is our wardrobe. Right? Because if you're wearing polyester, it's not even just that it ends up in a landfill, because like look, for example, whenever you see recycled polyester for clothing, that means it's made from water bottles and Tupperware, right? Yeah. Because that's a certain level of plastic that's quality enough to be broken down and remade into something else. These fast fashion products, like most of these, leggings, a lot of our beautiful young ladies are wearing nowadays, right? As their thighs are rubbing together, they're emitting all these small little particles, right, into the atmosphere. So even if you take these, polyester investor clothing, right, and you use it as a wash rag, in the end, as it's disintegrating, it's literally emitting toxicities into the atmosphere. Not to mention, right, workout clothing is notorious for this. That's the main thing that certain large brands have made their bread and butter on, because they tell you it's treated to be antimicrobial, right, which is like slapped on to most workout gear. We have no idea what that even means. And all these different, either wrinkle-free, easy care, a lot of these things are treated with chemicals that will seep into your pores, right? So especially if you're in brand new workout gear that on top of that wasn't washed initially, not that washing it gets rid of all the toxicities, but as your pores open up, right, you're literally absorbing all these toxins, and it's actually in some ways worse than eating it, because when you're eating it, your liver is somewhat protecting you, because it's filtering through there and getting rid of some of the toxicities that's in all this yellow number 6 in the mix, but when it comes to, for example, most inexpensive, easy care, wrinkle-free dress shirts that you get for, $10, $15, you get out the shower, right? A nice hot shower, the steam, got your pores all open. You put that dress shirt on, and most of these wrinkle-free treatments are treated with formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is the most common, which is a known cancer-causing chemical, right? They strip it out of other products, but it's heavily in use for easy care and wrinkle-free products. So there's going to be a time where I definitely believe that there's going to be an organic section in your local department store in the same way that there is in your grocery store. And as people have more issues and sensitivities to these types of products, it'll change. Just like there has been some improvements with food. I mean, it all cycles in, right? Like grass-fed beef used to just be how beef was fed, but now it's something you pay extra for because the industry has really destroyed, making any of these animal products as something that's beneficial. I mean, that's a whole other topic. Of course, yeah, you have folks that
connected though, very connected.
But it is all very, very connected for sure. And that's why, man, I'm a big proponent of, trying to avoid all these synthetics because all the synthetic fabrics are trying to do is mimic a natural fiber anyway, right? And they're used by these companies to lower costs. That's really the only benefit that they have. Yeah. Because the longevity, I mean, like the first pair of even nylon stockings, which was also a petroleum-based product, but nylon stockings would last women their entire lives because they made them in a way where they just wouldn't tear. And ever since the first batch they made, they never made them like that again. And it's primarily because they only make money right on new product. This is why if you really look into recycling and all the reports that have come out recently, most plastic is not recycled. And that main reason is because you don't really make money. I mean, the oil companies, they make money on new petroleum-based product, not on recycling. Yep. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's just really important, especially with I can't tell you how many people that I've met that are talking a big game about climate change. When, I'm in fabrics and clothing, man, I can spot polyester from a mile away. So I understand and see that routinely, but it's no different than the politicians, telling us to wear masks and the CDC saying synthetic masks are no. And I mean, obviously Dr. Fauci himself was wearing a polyester mask most of the time when he was wearing it on television. So, that's all. It's just about raising the gentlemanly IQ, man. That helps with all of this.
And that's to a whole nother level. Like you said, that's the main reason why I wanted to tackle that so hard is because me talking to you and then me checking out your social media, there was so much health knowledge on there that people weren't even aware of, that I wasn't even aware of, that you helped educate me on in a whole different sector that you're not necessarily paying attention to. And I'm the health guy. I'm in this field. So it was great to hear all of that. And that's the main area I really wanted to drive home to people during this interview was really put the money into your clothing, put the money into the education in what bad clothing there is, what good clothing there is, and what it could do to your body. Because you do everything else. You go to the gym, you eat right. But if you put clothes on and one of your biggest organs on your body is your skin, you can still get cancer the same exact way. You can still get all these major illnesses the same exact way just by your clothing decisions.
That's right. And there's so many, diseases and things that happen that people still aren't really aware of it yet. I mean, it took a long time for, folks to realize that talcum powder could be, harmful for babies and women.
Yeah.
Or could create certain cancers or certain, and there's how many people that have been diagnosed with even things like lung cancer, but they've never smoked and they can't really figure out a reason why. And I always wonder, some of this can be the clothing because a lot of the manufacturing of clothing that's gone overseas, one of the main reasons why the cost is driven down is because they don't have the strict regulations and the environmental regulations over there, right? And there's so many, for example, there used to be a booming leather industry in Napa, and it was really environmental regulations that really, stifled that. And not to say that isn't important or that we shouldn't find, sustainable practices. But the problem is when you shut these industries down and they just go overseas, they honestly can do it worse in a lot of these countries. And there's villages and cities and whole communities in India, for example, that have had their levels of autism and other issues for newborns, for example, that have just skyrocketed in the same time that all these industries have kind of have come in to place, because there's just so much chemicals that's being used. And I would say that probably some of those chemicals are being transferred over to the end results. And just like there's plastic in the ocean, with the way even food has been produced, the way microwaves are. I'm sure some of us have plastic component. All of us have some plastic inside of us. It's just become a part of our DNA. So I'm just trying to keep it real in the real sense of the term. You know what I'm saying?
But I couldn't agree more. But that brings even more value to what you do, because you can, and not in a dramatic way, but just in an honest way, you could help save people's lives based on their clothing decisions. Because now, since you say that in certain parts of India, autism has increased, there's a lot of autism that has increased in America as well. And those could be a whole list of different reasons why. But I'm very curious if clothing decisions could also affect newborns or affect not even borns just yet by the mom wearing it while she's pregnant or X, Y, and Z. Like I said, we can go into that rabbit hole, but I do think that there's a lot of validity to what you're saying, and there's a lot of overall lack of knowledge when it comes to clothing and how it can affect your body and your health.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of that is just, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some whistleblowers in the industry, some folks that really, that's always how things have really changed over time as well too. And then at the same time, because of financial implications and how that impacts everyone's life, it still doesn't really change as well too. Just look at the food industry, right? There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of awareness, but there's still just as many McDonald's as there was before.
Oh, for sure.
People became or realized that they're peddling poison at the end of the day. Because if you really look at the definition of food, for example, it's something very positive, right? And if you look at the definition of poison, it's something meant to kill you. And a lot of the ingredients that's being used in food, and I would argue clothing as well, fit more of the description of poison than they do, food or fabric or something that's supposed to be to sustain us. You know what I'm saying? So that's really a big problem that I see in the short term, is just the lack of awareness. But I have hope as well too, because of what I see happening around food and around there's been an explosion of even people becoming vegan and vegetarian and trying I'm not myself, but at the same time this is a reaction to people wanting to find healthier alternatives and realizing that the way things are being done is not sustainable and not made for the benefits of mankind. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, if you just care about what you do and share the right level of expertise, it's gonna have those positive effects. Like, I don't really talk about being environmentally friendly. I just am, in a way. You know what I mean? Because I value the fabrics and what I do. So that's really important. Why it's important to support small business and people who monetize their talents and abilities and things they're passionate about, because they're going to do things the right way. You know what I'm saying?
They just say right there, they do it the right way because they care. Because as a business grows, I feel the caring shrinks. And to the point that you're saying, these big businesses could sell you poison and you'll eat it with a smile on your face because it's cheap, or you'll wear poison because it's cheap, and you think that they're doing you a favor because it's cheap, where in reality they're just wiping you off so they can just get the next customer.
Definitely. And of course, marketing and all that has a big part to play in it, but it trickles down there. Even in people being canceled, like everybody wants to, let's say if you want to cancel Kanye West and Kyrie Irving, but nobody talks about canceling Nike or canceling Adidas.
For sure.
Or PG&E, or like I was actually reminded of a movie that was popular when I was a kid. Like Aaron Brockovich, Julia Roberts, is an old school movie,
Yeah.
but it's a true story that's based like in the '60s about how PG&E literally knew that they were poisoning some people. I forget the exact details of the story, but my point is it's on record. The '60s they were doing this, right? In San Bruno, what happened, the tragedy that happened just a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? And these people are still in business. They don't get canceled because there's a whole, structure around that. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, me and you are about to get some knocks on the doors later today. So, what are the best fabrics that people can lean harder into after listening to this podcast?
Well, just really natural fibers is the most important thing, right? You want to look at cotton, but even in cotton, you see, that's what I mean. There's such a education curve right now for most folks, because why is Egyptian cotton or Turkish cotton better? It's because of the actual plant and the individual fibers. Long staple cotton is just going to last longer. It's going to wash better. This is why you rarely see Egyptian cotton on the fabrics, not just the cost, but for a long time they haven't wanted it on the fabric because it'll last you so much longer than traditional cotton. And right now, even most cotton that is available is genetically modified. I mean, Monsanto's had an equally large influence on fabric production as they have on food production. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the natural fibers are even modified to a certain extent. But at the same time, just avoid all the synthetic fabrics that are no good. That's polyester, acrylic, and there's levels to it. Like, modal, for example, is becoming much more common, which has a wood derivative, so it's not a petroleum-based fabric, but it goes through a heavy chemical process to turn wood chips into fabric. You know what I mean? Similar to turning petroleum, oil into fabric. You know what I mean? I mean, these things go through a heavy process, and you have to, wonder how is it that these methods of production are a lot cheaper than growing cotton. And obviously there's a whole science to it where you could clearly see why one is going to be more cost effective than the other. But definitely my biggest advice would be to always read the label on anything that you buy. You know what I mean? And it goes down, and this is something, we go into the coaching program, we dive deep into understanding where products are made. Like most people think, even if something's made in China, that's bad, when really, it's 50-50 now. I mean, China's the largest exporter in the world. You know what I mean? They have developed quite an industry on different levels, and they can produce actually some pretty high quality products. And of course, because they're the largest exporter, they still have some very low quality products as well too. But most products made in Bangladesh, for example, are purely price point driven, and manufacturers go there to cut costs. So so there's layers and levels to it, but the simple answer would be, my answers are all long-winded, unfortunately.
No, it's all good. No, it's great. It's great information that people need to hear.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So, but definitely just stick to natural fibers. That's your wool, your cotton, and a quick tidbit on that too. Wool and animals are not harmed in every production of all these products, and as a matter of fact, a lot of sheep and llamas and their coat can actually grow to a point that creates a level of exhaustion and over exhaust them. So cutting off their coat and giving them a haircut, for lack of a better term, actually extends their lifetime while providing us with quality fibers.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because that is the real shit on the planet. It's the same reason why people that have huskier dogs give their dog a nice trim, because if it's too hot outside or if there's too much, it gets matted, it gets heavy. So it's the same thing when it comes to getting wool from a sheep or a llama or whatever.
Yeah.
So now go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and obviously when you just think about it naturally, right? When our fibers are coming from these methods, it's gonna limit to some extent the production of clothing, where you can't have these fast fashion brands, right?
Yeah.
But you have brands now that just can get these really cheap fabrics, can create a look. So they'll just copy a look that an influencer or celebrity, whatever you want to call them, provides. They make a less expensive version of that and sell it in mass. So, and a big part of it, until we're aware that we're part of the problem, we don't realize that we're a part of the problem.
Yeah. And that's really why I want to drive home. You're a pioneer in an early stage of something that you already spoke on that will probably happen 10, 20, 30 years from now, the same way it happened in the food industry, is this information isn't mainstream just yet. It's not out there the same way that they have all these organic options now, where I do fully believe that they're going to have a big line of organic clothing options that's way more mainstream than it is now. So there's something there. I would say dive heavy into it and keep doing what you're doing, because the information is big and it's helped me out. Like I said, if people don't know about your social media, they need to get on it and start checking it out, because there's a lot of information, which leads me to this. And this is why I learned from you that blew my mind, because it's something that's so simple that even somebody like myself wasn't even paying attention to and said, holy shit, that's accurate. Explain to people why they should wash their reusable bags.
Oh man, that's key. Yeah, I mean, there was multiple studies actually done that most people are carrying around, uh, you know, toxicities like salmonella, for example. You know what I mean? Because they're reusing these shopping bags and not washing them. You know what I mean? And it's a big issue with masks as well too. You know what I mean? If you're wearing a mask, or a disposable mask, that's what it needs to be. Like bags that are they need to be disposable. If they're reusable, you need to wash it. You know what I'm saying? Because especially as items get wet, or the moisture, a lot of the particles or things floating around in the atmosphere get trapped inside of the cloth. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's very bad to wear a mask after it's been wet, for example. You know what I mean? Or shopping bags that you carried some poultry around or some meat around in, especially, and a little thing could leak, even without you being aware. So it's very important to wash the reusable items. You know what I mean? You got to take the consciousness to another level, and this is why I say where the teacher dies learning. You understand what I'm saying? You got to keep honing and developing and building on what it is you know. So if you understand plastic bags are bad, and you want to shift towards something that's reusable, well, then the bag that I'm reusing needs to also be hygienic. You see what I'm saying? And that also has a certain lifetime. That the reusable bag, it can, depending on the bag, it might be able to last you several years, and it might be time to let it go after a certain amount of uses. So that's why it's really important to understand, which actually to an offshoot point off that as well too. It's just like, for example, the reason why we had plastic bags in the first place was primarily pushed by the environmentalist lobby, because they were upset about paper bags and the role that obviously trees play in developing paper product. So to be environmentally friendly, they wanted the companies to move towards plastic bags, which was the best thing for oil companies, right? Because plastic is more petroleum-based product, which again we know is bad for the environment, right? So if we don't think to a second level or layer, everything just becomes a gimmick.
Yeah.
So that's why oftentimes mask wearing, reusable shopping bags, I mean, they could just really be a gimmick or something that's making you feel better, when in actuality, if executed with some thought, then it really can make a difference.
Oh man, like I said, that one was powerful, and that one I hope a lot of people drink in, because more often than not, the higher percentage of people fall for the gimmick and believe in the gimmick, and it's that's why they say there's way more sheep on the planet than there are actual lions on the planet. That's not accidental by any means.
That's true.
So no, I love it. So we're getting closer towards the end of it, and these are powerful questions that I always like to ask the individual so they can kind of self-reflect. What would you tell your 10-year younger self?
Man, just to really invest in myself more. Early on, I understood the power of presentation and was making investments on that avenue. But I've always wanted to create my own financial independence, even when I was working for other companies. So I would really tell myself to believe in yourself to the fullest. don't care about what anybody thinks, and invest. Money, man, don't get spent; it gets circulated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very, very important difference that a mentor once taught me as well. So understanding that it'll be circulated, the more you invest in yourself, the more that will come to you. You know, you're not ready to make $50K if you can't invest $50K in yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's that's definitely the number one thing I would tell myself is to, you know, believe in yourself, invest in yourself more, and the offshoot to that is just don't care about what anybody thinks.
Man, I completely agree with that. When I run into men that are 10 years younger than us, they have all those insecurities, and you're constantly trying to reaffirm them. Man, you're young. You're all right, man. You could do this. Just get out of the way of those insecurities, and you'll be flourishing. But it's hard at that stage, and there's so much going on. But I do like that you said that, because there's a lot of young men out there that need to hear that from men of our age that are reaching successes that we never really thought of in the younger stage of it all.
Yeah.
This question is mainly, where could people find you at, before I ask you the last question. So give us everywhere in which people can find you, because I think that there's a huge gap, and I think that you could fill it for a lot of people. So give everybody where exactly they can find you at.
So the Clothing Coach, you just Google the Clothing Coach. Most things will come up. As Clothing Coach on Instagram as well too. On Facebook, on pretty much any social media that I have is branded under the Clothing Coach. The website is clothingcoachsf.com. Got a blog on there as well too for folks that want to read more. There is a podcast that I will be retiring. It's only going to be available it's a 10-episode podcast that I released last year called The Clothing Coach Approach, a Motivational Journey. It talks a bit more about my own journey on becoming a clothing coach. But I'm retiring that here going into 2023 as I make way for some new content. And always try to rebrand and reinvent yourself, even if it's still around a similar set of goals, is something important. So really, folks, just Google the Clothing Coach, man. They'll find me.
No, I love it. No, it's great. Like I said, I think people need to get a hold of you, because there's a lot in which they could flourish in from the knowledge in which you have. Last and final question of the day is, what advice would you like to leave the audience?
Number one advice that I would say probably comes from one of my favorite quotes, which comes from the great Les Brown, which is, faith not tested can't be trusted. You know what I'm saying? It's been a tumultuous time for the last couple years. This past year, it's been up and down for a lot of people, especially, as we begin to go back towards normalcy since the pandemic. And when you're going through a tough time or having difficulties in anything that you're doing, it's important to reframe it as, instead of everything happening to me, it's really happening for me. You know what I'm saying? And to strengthen your faith, which really has nothing to do with religion, it's just about your maintaining optimism and belief in your greater abilities and a greater future. You know what I'm saying? And that only really comes from going through difficult times and understanding that, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, man. That's one of the oldest cliches. That's how cliches develop, is because they're so true. You know what I'm saying? And definitely anybody out there that's interested in figuring a way to monetize their talents and abilities, or just grow their own, financial goals and abilities, to understand that you got to be grateful and thankful for all the challenges, because once you go through those challenges, that's what prepares you for the opportunities.
Man, like I said, all amazing information and all amazing gems that you've given out. Man, thank you so much for just being on the podcast and dropping all this knowledge. It really means a lot.
Man, it's a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
It's always good talking with you, and I, appreciate you, picking my brain on these topics as well too.
Yes, it's pivotal. Anybody listening, reach out to the Clothing Coach. Get your gentlemanly IQ up, and get your IQ on a whole bunch of different facets up. But no, thank you very much. Like I said, I'm going to have you back on the show, because there's a lot of other topics in so many different facets, not just fashion, that collide together that I want to get your opinion on. But until then, man, thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man.
Good shit, brother, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, cool.
All right. Peace.